What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Jake Shavink here, and this week we're going to go through a few draft classes that really caught my eye during the 2021 NFL Draft, and is obviously a part of this channel because it's all NFL and all NFL Draft. I know Packer fans will get to a lot more film breakdowns this week, but I want to talk about this draft first for sure because I think this, for the consensus, a lot of people were this is a top three draft for sure. Got resoundingly good grades across the board from media. It's the Cleveland Browns, a team who is on the rise, make no mistake, and really showed us, what they're really made of last season. Or Kevin Stefanski got themselves all the way to the divisional round, and it continued in the offseason. And they put together a great offseason, especially on the back seven, and we'll get to that with all their picks. So we're going to go through all their picks here and just talk about what I really thought was a fantastic draft across the board. So we'll start, obviously, in the first round. Browns could have gone a few directions. They did end up passing on Rashad Bateman, who I know quite a few people did want there in Cleveland. Instead, they take Greg Newsome, the corner out of Northwestern, who obviously has a little bit of durability concerns. Just to start off, has really not played a full season so far in his career, at least from the collegiate level on. But ultimately, a player who has got great transitional quickness, a guy who's got the speed to carry vertically, a guy who's produces at the catch point, stays in your hip pocket, can play off, can play near the line in press coverage. It is very versatile as a corner, and he joins a room that has a good amount of depth now. Obviously, going to start opposite Denzel Ward. They can put Troy Hill in the slot, and you have a guy like Greedy Williams who can come along in his development and hopefully be a role player somewhere in that secondary. So Newsome adds to a strength, but is a great add to a strength on that defense. Then the second round, they let JOK, they bring him in. Falls right in their lap at 52. And again, a great pick. Obviously, there was concerns now that came out after about his heart, and that was kind of flagged in medicals. But so hopefully for him, everything is okay long term as well, and he can play for a long time. But a great value pick for the Browns, who, you know, JOK for a lot of teams was going to be someone who you're either potentially can fit him in your scheme or he's completely off your board because he's a different type of player at a guy who's only 220 pounds, right? So Cleveland clearly has a plan for him to play in a sub package second level defender type role, and he's going to be very good at it because he's got the quickness. He can slip through blocks. He's smart coming downhill. He's fast coming down here. Closes. He makes tackles. He's smart. He's going to be a leader on that defense for sure. So you get a guy like that who does so many things well, but it's just a little bit undersized. But again, if they have a plan in place on that defense, he's going to be a star for them on what already is a great defense and is consistently growing. It's young and it's got a lot of talent. So to get Newsome and JOK with their first two picks, outstanding start for them. Then they took maybe a little bit of a reach, going for a guy like Anthony Schwartz at wide receiver, who again is still very one trick in his abilities. His ability is speed right now, and he shows a little bit of dynamic quickness, a little bit of speed release prowess at the line of scrimmage to get some separation to get into his stem, but ultimately he's going to win with a lot of speed vertically down the field and speed after the catch. So a guy you can get the ball in quick touches, and you can have a guy as a decoy to threaten deep and still feed him the ball a little bit because he's going to run past defenders. So again, a little bit of a reach, but again, with a wide receiver room that features Beckham, Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashard Higgins, guys who don't maybe have that game-breaking level speed, to get a guy like Schwartz in there, not a bad call for them, really. And then they come back in the fourth. They go with James Hudson, who obviously is not going to start right away. He's still a developmental tackle. Maybe he's a swing type of player from the start. But again, he's very raw for sure at the position, but has some skills. His athleticism, the way he can get out in space. His hand placement is a struggle right now. He struggles to get an initial punch with defenders out on the perimeter, and it's sometimes at the point of attack. So again, long way to go, but very intriguing as a player. And when you have a deep offensive line and you have two locked in starters, obviously you need to have as many on the offensive line as you can depth wise, because you never know who's going to get called up, right? And we saw the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So getting another guy who can potentially develop on that offense is a good thing. Then they come back, they get Tommy Togiai, who, again, in a defensive tackle class that was pretty weak overall, they get a guy who is one of my personal favorites, who brings a lot of juice to the table as a pass rusher, plays with good leverage, great hand usage, can get under guys, can swim underneath. He's got some moves. He's got an arsenal at his disposal to join a line that's maybe a little bit undermanned right now. And they're going to be asking a lot from Garrett especially, and Clowney, and Tack McKinley. So we'll see how those guys fit in. But to get a guy like Togiai who can potentially, create some interior pressure is huge. Then come back. Obviously, they clearly do have a plan for JOK, because then they go get Tony Fields, who another guy who's an undersized linebacker, but good instincts, good speed. He's got range to sink into coverage. So clearly now Tony Fields is now a backup for JOK in that defense, where, the plan is there for a second level defender of that caliber, of that nature, to play a certain role, which is great. And we're moving to an era of more versatile, especially more like DB hybrid linebacker players. So I like that. I like getting a guy like Fields to back up JOK because it makes a ton of sense. Now they go get Richard LeCount, who, again, didn't test well at all. Poor testing across the board. But a guy who's got good instincts, guy who's always around the ball. He's a good tackler. So another good depth piece in the secondary, which is, by the way, loaded, of course. And we'll get to that at the end. And then they come back. They get a guy, Metrick Felton, who obviously fell, testing numbers, size, all that. But he's a guy you can get gadget touches to, who's going to maybe get reps at running back and slot receiver. Really good player who showed out at the Senior Bowl, of course. And he shows the development as a route runner. He's got the vision and quickness and space. So there's just so many good things for an offense that is going to get more versatile, is going to have a stable of running backs that they do, who, they can feel like we got a good rotation going. We get people in space. We run a lot of outside zone. We're going to give people cutback lanes. There's going to be creases with that offensive line. For a guy like Felton, who has some bursts, who can hit those creases at times, and then have a guy over the middle of the field you can maximize a little bit as well with some scheme touches. No problems with that. I think it's an excellent value at where they got him. So overall, Browns draft, this is a team that's on the rise, a team that's going to contend, and I think they got a lot better this offseason, obviously adding Troy Hill, John Johnson III. Grant Delpit's going to be coming back this year. Probably a lot of expectations for him with his range, his ball skills. So you have a back seven that is completely loaded. When you got JOK, obviously we mentioned Johnson, we mentioned Delpit, mentioned a guy like Ronnie Harrison. We mentioned Troy Hill, we mentioned Ward. Now you add Newsome to the fold. Greedy Williams is a role player, depth piece. Wow. So obviously D-line is the main concern, but they added a guy like Togiai to beef up the pass rush a little bit. So good job there. The offensive line is set. This is a team who's going to threaten and contend in the AFC. It's crazy to think about, but these Browns, with especially credit to Andrew Berry, put together a fantastic draft that addressed needs and got great value at really every spot. So expect the Browns to really make noise again this season, and it really starts with the changing of the guard. Andrew Berry, now Kevin Stefanski, obviously on the same page in a lot of the sense, and they are going to make waves because of how well they've handled the draft these past 2 seasons and how well they've handled free agency. So kudos to the Browns, one of my favorite drafts. Had to talk about them. They loaded up. Really impressed with what they did. So hope you guys enjoyed this little video on the Browns draft. Let me know if this is a good format for these, if you want to see a slideshow or whatnot. Drop a like and subscribe if you're new. Helps out the YouTube algorithm, the likes do, and subscribe obviously helps us grow and reach a big community, which we're excited to do here. So hope you guys enjoyed, and hope you guys enjoy the rest of these throughout this week, and I will see you very soon with plenty more content in this off season. Farewell.